also hide your video because no one cares about it at this time. Okay, so as we say that when you're writing Flutter applications, you're using we will use a programming language called Dart. So since I'm considering that no one knows anything at the moment, I'm considering everyone is beginning from zero. So even though you already know something, just you're going to consider everyone is beginning from zero, so that when we are going step by step, we should not leave anyone behind. So we're going to begin by getting introduced to that programming language, and that will take us 2 or 3 sessions, and then after 2 or 3 sessions, it will be like everyone will, by that time everyone will have gotten at least enough introduction knowledge about programming, and then they'll be able we'll be able to proceed into now real mobile application development, which is Flutter. So let's get introduced to that programming language. So to make anything in programming language, first of all, you need a compiler. So a compiler is the one that will translate the lines that we write into the machine code, into the machine language that the computer or the mobile application will understand. So the very first thing that we're going to do right now is to install software that will enable us to, that will enable the code that we're going to write, that will compile it and change it into the computer language or the machine language that the mobile phone will understand, or the computer itself will understand. And the software that we're going to use is called IDE. It's in a category of softwares called IDE. IDEs, we use them to write code, and the second thing, we use them to compile the code that we have written. So the IDE that we're going to use for the beginning, when you're learning Dart programming, you're going to use an IDE called Visual Studio Code, or VS Code. So that one will help the code that will help us to interpret the code that we write into the computer language or the mobile application language. And what that software will do will enable the computer to understand what we've written and then translate it into what we need to do. So that is the very first step. What you're going to do right now, if you have somewhere to note, you should note down that we should install an IDE, and an IDE that we're going to use is VS Code, or Visual Studio Code. So I will assume everyone can access the internet and everyone can access this page that we are seeing on our screen, which is Google page. So our Google website. So just simply go to google.com, and this is where I am. Okay. So in this google.com, the thing that you're going to enter there, you're going to enter there VS Code. VS Code. So this VS Code is a software that is going to help us to write the code, at the same time translate that code into the computer language or the mobile phone language, and that whatever this VS Code will translate in the mobile phone will be able to do what we need it to do. So we begin by downloading this software. When I talk about downloading, I will hope that everyone understands what is meant by downloading. So I'll click on download, and then we'll be taken to this page, okay, to this page. So in this page is a place where you can download VS Code. So you first of all of course you must be knowing the operating system that you're using. If you're using Windows, you'll go for this one. You see, VS Code for Windows, just click here and then you'll be able to download. If you're using Ubuntu, you'll go for this one. And if you're using Mac, you'll go for this one. This step, once you download it from here, the remaining steps are really straightforward. For example, I'm using Mac. So what will I do? I'll just simply click here, download, and then it will say if I'm not directly, if it does not start downloading directly, I should click here. Likewise to the Windows. So you see, it has started downloading at this point. Okay. So I can as well come back if I'm using maybe Windows machine. I just simply click on download. So when you click on download, it means that it's also going to start downloading on your what? On your computer. But for me, I already have it on my computer, so I'll not need to download it again. So I'm going to cancel this download. But if you don't have it on your computer, what you will do, you'll have to be patient and wait until it's done downloading, and then you can start doing what? You can start installing it, and I will explain how to install. So I'm going to cancel it. So that is step number 1. If you're noting somewhere, note this, download Visual Studio Code. And that is the software that we'll use to do what? That we'll use to write programs in the course, okay? So that is a short note that you need to write. Though, we'll share also the notes after this class. So that is the step number 1. So the step number 2, you have to install whatever you have downloaded. You have to install that Visual Studio Code. So to install Visual Studio Code, of course, you'll go to your downloads. To go to your downloads, if you're using Google Chrome, you just right click here, right click, and then you'll see an option show in downloads, okay? Or you can simply come here on these dots and then click on downloads. So when you click on downloads, you'll see it here. You'll see it somewhere here if it has finished downloading. You'll see it here. Of course, I'll need attendance. If you attend, you just put your name and phone number in the chat. I'll share also a place where you also have to put the attendance. Because the certificates will have to put a mark. Every time that you attend, we'll award you a mark. And below a certain mark, some people will not be able to get the certificates. So make sure that you put your name in the chat and the phone number to mark you attended. Great. The remaining about organization, attendance settings will come later. Let us first focus on business. Okay, so here you'll be able to get that software while it is already downloaded. But for me, I already have it in my computer. And among the courses that we'll share the video tutorial that will explain how you can download that. But because you're saving time, we'll not be able to go step by step. But we'll share a video that explains how to download and install it step by step. So once you download it, the second thing, you open where it is and install it. So to install a software, you just go where it is and then double click on it, and then you'll see the steps which are just next. And when you click on those next, you'll be able to install that software in your in your computer. So for me, I already have it. I may not need to install that by just simply clicking next. But since we are taking everyone step by step, after this class, we will share a video that shows you step by step how you can install Visual Studio either on Mac computer or on Windows computer. So that will share the video immediately after this class. So I will assume that anyone can have understood how to download VS Code and how to install it and why we need it in our computers. If you have not understood, we'll share with you the video. So today we'll share 2 videos. This video and the video that will show you how to do how to download VS Code. So once you install it, I will also show you how you can open it. So if you're using my Windows computer, just simply click on Start, and then you'll be able to see You'll be able to see Visual Studio Code. If you're using Mac, you just simply come to Applications, and then you'll see VS Code somewhere here. Just type code, you will see it there. And these are just simple steps. Even though you are a beginner, I will assume you just reaching here. Of course, you were able to download Google Meet, and you were able to do to click on the link and reach at this point. So I'll assume that you already know what is meant by downloading. So this is Visual Studio Code, and when you open it, it will look like this. Okay. So once you have it on your computer, then it means that you're good to get started with mobile creating. With creating mobile applications. Okay. And we have said that we're going to begin by learning By learning that programming language in 2 or 3 classes. And then after that, we'll go to now real world programming of mobile applications. So we're going to open now a folder that we're going to store our code. Of course, the code that we'll be creating, there will be nothing but but files. Okay. So let me go ahead and create a folder. But I think majority uses Windows, so I'll switch to I'm going to use Mac first, and then after I'll go to Windows and I show how you can use Windows to do these things. Okay, so I'm going to go to desktop. This is my desktop, and then I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call it programming, and that's where I'll be saving my my code. Okay, so I hope everyone who is here understand what is meant by folder. So if you don't know, a folder is a container where we keep the files. Okay, so I'll right click here on my screen and then say new folder. So in this folder, I'm going to give it a name. It's going to call Pro. Here. It is here. This is the folder that I've just created. It is here. I'm going to name it Programming. So you can put it on desktop. You can put it on another disk. Okay. So that is the folder, right? So what will I do? What I will do, I can either drag and drop this folder on VS Code here. You see, I just drag and drop it on VS Code. Okay, and then that folder will be able to do what? To open through VS Code or Visual Studio Code. You see, it is here, and there is no file there. Or I can simply open it. Okay, I can double click on it to open it. You see, there is no file there. So we are going to put there our first file, and we are going to write our first code there, and then we'll go and also try to do the same thing using what? Using Windows Computer. So let me go ahead and create my first file here. You see, I've just opened the folder. I've not done anything but opening the folder. So let me create my first file. So what did I do? I just drag and drop the folder here, and it was able to be opened here. So let me create our first file. I'll just simply come and right click here, right click in this folder here, in this space, right click and then say new file. And under that file, you give it a name, okay? You give it a name. So we are going to give it a name. So I'm going to say one underscore introduction, and we call it intro. Okay? So intro. So when you're writing programming files, you should note that every programming file must have a specified language, and the language that you're going to use here, we have said it is that programming language. So to identify a certain file that is under a certain programming language, there is something called extension. So extension is the name that comes after a name of a file. Okay, I mean it's a word that comes after the name of a file. So that is how we can simply identify different files. For example, if you want to know that a file is a song file, it is having an extension of .mp3. If it is a video file, it is having an extension of .mp4. If it is a document file, it is having an extension of .doc. I hope you've seen those extensions. So this is a programming file, and it is a .dat programming file. So what does it mean? We should give it an extension of .dat programming file. So .dat. Okay. So how do we do that? We're going to simply put a dot, which is a full stop. You see, I begin by writing a name. I call it one underscore intro, and then I give it a name .dat. I give it an extension. You see, dot. Let me zoom so you can see clearly. You see, this is how I name it: intro, then dot, and then I give it the name of the programming language. So if it is a HTML file, I'll put .html. If it is a PHP file, I'll put PHP. But because it's a .dat file or a .dat programming language file, so I'll put .dat. Make sure the spelling is correct. So I put one underscore intro.dat. So why do I put one? I put one because I want to trace which file I begin with and which one came later and which one like that. So that's why I number them with 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll put introduction 1.dat.intro, 1 underscore intro.dat. And then after doing that, I press enter. So as I press enter, I'll be able to open this file. So what does it mean? It means that if we go and open our folder right now, we will find there one file which has been created. So let's go to open our folder. This is the folder we just created, programming. If I open it, can you see there is one file that has been created? So that's how we create files. So everything that we're going to do at this moment, it's not magic, but it is writing files. So those files, they will be compiled, and when they compile, they will form a software that a computer can understand or a mobile phone can understand. And what is the software that is going to help us to write to those files is called a what? It is called an IDE, and an IDE we have downloaded it, which is VS Studio. And what is the software that will help to change these files into the software that a computer will understand? It is a what? It is a compiler, and the compiler that we're going to use, it is already integrated into the what? Into the IDE. So after doing that, I've created my first file, and it's called that, and I've named it here. So if I come in the folder, I'll find it. If I come here in the programming, in the VS Code, I'll also find it. So another thing that you have to put here, so you have to note it down, is to add the extension. Okay, you have to add the extension note it down, to add the extensions of that programming language. So this IDE is just a text editor. We'll use it to just edit our text, but it does not have a compiler. So if you want to put a compiler that will translate this code into a machine code or into a software, then you have to add one more extension in this in this programming language called VS Code programming language. So to add an extension or a compiler, you simply come here on this place here. Can you see extension? When you move your mouse there, you'll see. When you move your mouse there, you'll see the word extensions here. So I'll click there. You see extensions. So here you'll find a lot of extensions. Okay, you'll find a lot of extensions. So extensions, they're like as you've had extensions, they add more abilities to the software that we are using. So this software that we just downloaded, it is just plain software. It cannot do anything apart from what? Apart from writing our code. So if you want this extension to, this software that we just downloaded to have ability to compile the Dart language or to have a compile of Dart, then it means you have to add one more thing. So and that's what is called extension. So we are going to add an extension of Dart programming language. So the extension that we're going to add is called Dart. Okay, so you just simply come here under extensions and click here, you see, and then type there Dart like this, Dart. Okay, so it will search, and you should be connected to internet. Okay, it will search. So you can see here that it is here. So what we'll do, you just click on install. The word install will be here. For me, I've already installed mine. Okay, so you just click on the word install. Okay, so when you click on install, that compiler will just take like 10 to 20 seconds or even 2 minutes, and it will also be added into your computer. So what is its use is to convert the code that we write into a mobile application. Is to convert the code that we write into a software that a computer can understand. That is the use of an extension. So you just simply come here to extensions and type in that, and then go ahead and click on this first and then click on install to be installed. You can install like this one also. This syntax, it is optional, but you can install it and click there and click on install. So when you install it, it will help you to arrange your code, but it is not necessary, but it will help you. When you proceed into classes and objects, will also need this one, but these are optional. But the most core one is this one with the blue tick, and what its use is to compile our code into a mobile application or a software. So you'll go ahead and install that. So after installing it, then you will have to go back to your files. So the question is, how do you go back to files? So to go back to files, it is this place here where you see the Explorer, this first icon. So when you click there, you'll be able to go back to our files. See? So you can collapse, you can expand, you can collapse. So when you click there, you'll see a list of files that we have. So I'll click on this first one, the one that I just created, and then we'll also go back to our first file. So after doing that, we are going now to write our first code. So to write your code in VS Code, in Dart, to write the code, what do you begin with? You begin with a function called main function. That main function is where your program will begin from. As we proceed, we'll go back into the reason why I'm doing this is because I want us to understand the basics. But other teachers, they just take you straight into graphical user interface, and you don't know what is going on behind. But what I want us to do is to understand what is going on behind, what happens. So what happens when you're running a Dart program, the first thing that it does, it calls a function called main function. And that is where your program will begin from. So I'm going to create here a function called main function. And that's the one that will be called by the operating system of a mobile phone, and it is where the logic of the whole application will begin from. So how do you do that? You just simply write void. As we proceed, we will understand what is meant by void, what is meant by null, what is meant by int. But right now, just memorize and write. But when you proceed, you will understand, okay? So I write there the word void and write the word main. So after writing the word main, I will open bracket and close it. So the advantage of an IDE, it will help you to predict the next thing that you may need to do. For example, you see, I just open a bracket. You see, when I click shift and open bracket, it automatically helps me and close it because it knows that I'll need to close it. So that's why you need IDEs, okay? So you write void main and then open bracket and close it. Then after, you come outside this bracket, outside here, okay? And then open the curl brackets, okay? You open the curl brackets like this, okay? So by doing like that, you will have created your first program, but it cannot do anything right now. So what will happen when this code is executed on a mobile phone or on a computer, the operating system of the phone will call this function here. We'll call this one. And that is where the logic of the program will start operating from. So what we're going to do here, you're going to write something that... so here, when you launch the application that we'll be creating on the phone or on the computer, it will begin by calling this main function. So it means that our program will begin operating from here. So let us do something there and put something and write something and display something. So to write there something, we just simply write print and then you open bracket and close it. Then you open double quotes like this. You see? You open quotes and close them and then come at the end here, at the end point here, and put a semicolon like this. So by doing like that, you'll have written something but it's not showing anything. And then put here the word hello world. So what is this program going to do? This program is not going to do anything, but it's just going to display the word hello world in our what? In our console or in our mobile phone or in the device that will be running this program on. It is going to display the word hello world. So here, if I try to explain this, the word print, its work is to display something, because when you are dealing with mobile application, we will not work with only displaying anything to users, everything to users, but we display only what we want. So here I'm displaying the word hello world. Okay, I'm displaying the word hello world to my what? To my mobile phone or to the computer that is running this application. So after doing that, then the next thing is like, now how do we run this application? How are we going to run it and make sure that it is working? So you begin by saving. To save, you press the control button and S. You press the control button, hold it and S. There you will have saved. Then to run this code and make it work, what you do, there are two ways. You can use a command line, and the other way you can use just an interface. So I'll use both so you can understand how to use both. This one. So I'm going to use the command line, okay? So to use a command line, you press control and this key. I don't know how I should call it. It is called and you know the key which is under the escape button. You will see the key under the escape button. After the class, I'll share the picture that show you what I show this, how I show the command line. You press the control button and the key under the escape button. I will show you what that key is exactly after this class, okay? So after pressing that key, the command line will be displayed, as you can see here. So you see, it is called terminal here, and on computer it is called command line, okay? Exactly. Someone has written it in the comment section. Thank you so much. If you go in the comment section, you'll find the key that you need to press. So once you press that one, you'll be able to see this, okay? So once you see this, it means that...
It's called the tilde key.
Tilde. Yeah. It's called tilde. Thank you so much. So it's called the tilde key. So once you display this, it means that you are able to write what? Write commands. So to be able to run this file that you just created, it means that you have to navigate to that file using command. So you're becoming now programmers. Before you could go straight by just simply clicking, but right now you have to use the command line to navigate that file. So we know in our minds where we saved this file. We saved it in a folder on desktop named programming. So the first thing that we have to do, is to do what? Is to know where we are. okay, is to know where we are here. So to know where we are, right now, write down. You should note down, write the word PWD. PWD will tell you the path where you are. So when you press write PWD and press enter, you'll see the path where you are. So you can see we are in users, Mac, desktop, and programming. So we are already in the program, we're already in the folder that we do what? That we want, because it's the folder that we just created, and this way we've saved our file. So if you want to see the files that are saved, I hope you guys are noting. If you don't want to come through this video, otherwise you'll watch this video again, which is also okay. So if you write PWD and press enter, you'll see the file, the location where you are. Now we want to see the files that are saved in this location. What do? You write ls. So list ls will help you to list the items that are in this file. So when you press enter, you can see in our folder we are having 1_intro.dat. Okay, so there you can tell. So if there are main files, you can have a list of them. Okay, so right now we're just showing you that you're not going to use much of graphics before we start using the Android Studio. We're going to use the command line. Okay, so I hope you're learning. They are looking like Chinese to you before, but right now you should be able to use, you should not fear them anymore. You should be used to them. So we are in this folder, and we are on this we can see this we are having this file in our folder. So what we are going to do, we're going to run this file. So to run this file that we just created, and in this we make sure that we're in this folder. To run that file, we just simply write dat, like that. So that is the command that will help us to run the files. We'll go more into explanation of this later, but you just simply write dat, and then you follow it. You make it follow. The next thing that you write after writing the word dat, you write the name of the file that you want to run. So the name of the file that you want to run is 1_. So once you write 1_, you can press the tab key. I hope you know the tab key. You press the tab key. The command prompt, the command line will help you to complete the name of that file. So when you press the tab key, you see the name of the file has been created, as it has been completed. Okay, if that file is existing in that folder. So after doing that, you press enter. So when you press enter, it means that we are saying that you should execute this file that you have just created. So just press enter. It will process, and you can see it has displayed the word hello world on the command line. Let me clear everything on the screen. If you're on Windows, you just write in SLS, but if you're using Mac, just press Ctrl and enter. Ctrl and K, command key and K, it will clear the screen. So I'm going to repeat that for one more time. Just simply write dat, okay, write 1_ and the tab key, you see that, and then you press enter. Then it will execute that. Can you see? Hello world. So I can go ahead and add another line, print. Okay, so if I want to display, I just come back to my code and add another line, print, and I then put brackets and put here. I say this is my first program in that. Press and then make sure I save. Okay, after saving, I come again and run this file. Okay, so if you want to access the previous command that you just ran, you press the key that is pointing on top, the arrow up key, the arrow key that is pointing on top. Just press it, then to bring the previous command that you just ran, if you don't want to type it again. And then if you press enter, you can see hello world, this is my first program. Okay, in that. So that is how we install VS Code. That is how we install the extension of dat. That is how we write a file of dat, and that is how we execute the dat file. So the remaining Chinese will come later, step by step, but we begin with that on how to do what, on how to run a dat file. But what you should see here, that we have been able to run this world and display here. To run the word and display it there. So what time you are remaining with? The remaining 25 minutes. Okay. So I wanted to go to Windows so that I should show you how the same thing can be done on Windows machine, because I believe majority of people here, they are using Windows. But I'll go to the Windows. Okay, tomorrow. I'll first share the video that will show you how to use Windows. Then I can go to the Windows tomorrow, because most of things you'll have to figure them out by yourselves. When you're a programmer, just get ready to figure things by yourself. So I've shown you how to do it on what? On Mac. Now, what about Windows? Follow is almost exactly same steps, but just some slight changes. So those slight changes, you can search them on YouTube, search them on Google. Try to find out by yourself, because as a programmer, once I finish teaching you here, maybe in 3 months, you can do some maybe application that I've shown you. Now you're going to look for a job, or you're going to look for employment. So when someone gives you a job, or someone needs an application for you, he will not ask you to do exactly what I showed you, but he will give you their own ideas. So what does it mean? Then it means that you will not come back to me to show you how to do those things, but you'll have to use the knowledge that I gave you to relate and create something that I did we learn into the whole course. So on Windows, how to run it on Windows, you'll first try it by yourself. Search on Google, search on YouTube, how to run a .dat file on Windows, and then you'll do what? You'll be able to do that by yourself. But I'll also share a video that will show you how I will help you how to do that. And in case you find a problem, then you can come to me and I can help you. But it is almost the same thing that you'll need to do. So with that much said, let us begin. Let us proceed into the what? Into the real coding, into the real project, into the real programming. So this is our first file, you see, that we created, and this is under the file. So if I open it with another software, maybe I just open it. It is opening with VS Code. Let me open another software so you can see what is inside there. So it's just nothing but this piece of code. Okay, so we are remaining with 20 minutes. Let's proceed and learn at least one serious thing today. I will share the notes, but we will concentrate much more on what? On practicals. So we're going to begin by looking at what we call variables. So I'll share these notes with you that I prepared for you. So we're going to begin. We've looked at the syntax. We'll understand it later, but let us begin with the serious business. So today we'll look at variables. Variables, classes. In the course of that, we'll look at variables, classes, functions, and objects, and comments, and then the rest we can find them when you're implementing Flutter. And this is the syntax. So I've already looked at it. Okay. So we'll not be more into theory, but we'll also create notes that we'll provide to you, so that in case you want to read and understand it properly, you can come to notes. So you see, this one already created. So we proceed to data types. So data types, their values. They are storages that. They are different information that a certain programming language does what? Does support. For example, in Flutter, in that programming language, we support these data types. We support numbers. We say that these are different data types that Flutter supports. That programming language supports. It supports numbers. It supports strings, supports booleans, supports lists and maps. We will not explain much more, but we'll explain them into practicals. Okay. So today we're going to begin by looking what we call a variable. Okay, so a variable is a storage that we use to store the data that we can use later. If you want to store something somewhere and then use it later, you store it in something called variable. So it is just a memory that we can give a name, and then we store there something, and then after storing there something, we can reuse it later. So that memory that we use to store something can store these types of what? Of information. It can store a number, it can store a string, it can store a boolean, it can store a list, it can store what? A map. So what they mean, when you proceed, we'll know what they really mean. So in the very first place, we are going to begin by creating what? By creating what? A variable, and we see what is meant by what? By a variable. So if you want to learn more deep about variables, this file will be shared with you. Come and read this paragraph and you'll understand more deep and what is really meant by variable. But here we're going just to demonstrate in practicals. But in simple terms, a variable is a space or a memory where we can store something and you can use later. So let's go ahead and create a variable. So they will be learning each topic, as you can see here, each topic that we'll be creating, each topic that we'll be learning, we'll be creating a separate file for it. So also when you're practicing, each topic that you create, that you practice, create a separate file for it. So let me go ahead and create a separate file for what? For variables. So to do that, I'll come to my folder that I've already opened and everything. I'll right click and create a second file. Okay. So the second file is going to be 2_variables .dat, as you can see there. Okay, 2_variables. Why 2_variables .dat? Why do I put 2? I put 2 because I want to know after some years, after some days, which file did I start with, which one follows the other. That's why I'm numbering them. So it's a very good practice to organize your content properly, so that in case someone wants to learn from your files, they can simply follow along, even you yourself. So organizing your data is really important. So that is the second file. So you have two files. Can you see? We have this one and this one, this one and this one. So let's go ahead and create something here in this second file. So to create this file, so begin of course with a structure of dat program. So a dat program must begin with void and followed by main and followed by open bracket and close and curly brackets. So we should memorize that. That is what it takes to create a dat program. So after doing that, the program starts cooperating from here. So to create a variable, something that we can store something, you just simply write var like this. Okay. So after writing var like this, it is followed by the name of this variable. So once you create something here, you have to create the name of the variable. Okay. So I can give it a name. So if I call it name, it may confuse you, but don't worry. This is a name. So you'll use this word name to reference or to access this variable or to access this memory. So you're creating here a memory. And then you initialize it. So to initialize, you say equal sign, and then you open double quotes to store there something. So I'm going to store there the name. So to store there the name, I'm going to call it otim. And then I put a what? A semicolon. So always put a semicolon after finishing a line. So what has happened here? We have created a space called name and we've stored there something called otim. So if I want to access this now, if I want to access it, so there are two ways I can access it. There are different ways I can access it. So I just simply say print. So right now, if you run this program, it will not display anything. Why? Yet you have written this. Why? It's because we have not asked it to display anything. So it is just logic that we have just written. So let's go ahead and run this program. So what will I do? I will expand my command prompt like that. So that is my CMD. So I will clear it, Control K. For those who are using Windows, write CLS to clear it. Then after doing that, I'm going to run the file. So I already know I'm in this very folder. So I don't need to navigate this folder. So what will I do? I'll just simply write dat, and then I call this second file, which is 2_var. Then when I write like that, just it's small letters like these ones, just a few letters like this, and then they press the tab key. I press the tab key, it will complete for me the whole name of a file. Then I'll go ahead and I click on enter, so that I should expand. I should run this file. So when I click on enter, it will process. Can you see? The program is not displaying anything. Why? it is because we did not do what? We did not ask it to display anything. So if we want this program to display something, it means that we must tell it to do so. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to tell this program to display this name, okay? The information that we stored in this variable. So how do you do that? We just simply say print and then say name. So what it's going to do, it is going to get anything that is stored in this name and display it. So I'll save and come back to my command prompt. I press the arrow key that is pointing on top, and then I press enter. Now I can see OTIM. Okay, I can see OTIM. So that is great. So it means that we know now how to create a space and store there something and access it later. So if I change this name, OTIM John, I save, I come and again press the key that is pointing on top. Can you see? OTIM John. So that is our program. So the use of this program is just display OTIM John. So if I want now to make a sentence that makes sense, maybe like saying my name is OTIM John. So to do that, I'll just simply let me delete this, and I want to write the normal words combined with this name. So I'll just simply say print open bracket and then put the sentence that I want to do. I can say my name is OTIM. My name is dash dash dash. So in these dashes we'll fill the what the value here. This value we're going to put it here. I put a semicolon and save, and then come and clear the console, run the file. Can you see? My name is dash dash dash. Now our task is to replace this dash 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 with something that we stored here. So to do that, now to access it, so if you want to access this variable inside a string, inside these strings, what do? You use a $sign. So you just simply put $sign and the name of the variable. So this $sign will tell the compiler that, hey, whatever is going to write here is the name of a what? Of a variable. So I said name in small letters because I saved it in small letters. So if I write something that I have not defined before, it will not allow that. So write name and save. Make sure you save, and then come and do what? And run the file. So you can see my name is OTIM John. So I have managed to make a file that does what? That makes sense. So let me create another variable, var, and then say age equals 31. Okay, so I have now two variables. One is called name and another is called age. So if I want to make these two variables, I can still make them have sense. So I can say my name is OTIM John, comma, I am dash 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 years old, and I put a full stop there. I save, come and clear the console, run. Can you see? My name is OTIM John, I'm dash dash years old. So I want to put here this age years old. So what will I do? I'll just simply come and remove these dashes, put a $sign, put the age, and then save, come and run. My name is OTIM and I am 31 years old. So that's how we create storage, and that's how you access the storage. So I hope you guys, you're connecting the dots and you're getting the concept. What's the time remaining? Oh, they want me to buy the timer. These guys can't be serious. You're running the 18 minutes, okay? Oh, I paused it. Okay, we're remaining with 10 minutes. 18 minutes, in fact, yeah, 18 minutes, because the classes end as 9:20, right? 9:30. So remaining exactly 18 minutes. It's already 9:12. Great. So we proceed. So we have learned how to create variables and how to access them and how to make them make sense. Okay. So let us proceed. That's all about variables. We proceed. You see? So you come and learn here and understand properly. So that programming operators. So operators expression so operators are expressions that we use to perform different kinds of operation. They are the expressions that we use to perform different kind of logic. For example, in mathematics we have operators, and those operators, they're the same thing that we may need also to do in that we may need also to use in what, in programming languages. And these are you'll come and read this file. I will organize this paragraphs properly so I can understand it properly. So you can come and read. First, we're going to concentrate much more on on practicals. So we have different types of operators, and among the types of operators, we have arithmetic operators, the one that use perform arithmetic operations. We use equality or relation operators, the one that use perform logic whether something is equal or not. We use we have the type test bitwise operators, assign operators, things like equal sign, and also have logic operations. So these are the different types of operation that we do that we use. But most of the time we use arithmetic operators and also the relation operators, then also equality operators. These bitwise and the type operators, we don't use them that much. Okay, so today we are going to look at operators meanings and the one that you use most. For example, these are the one that you use. So in that, we use a plus as an addition operator. We use a minus as a subtraction operator. We use a star as a multiplication operator. We use a divide as forward slash as a divide. We use a percentage as to find the remainder. We use the plus plus to increase something by 1. We use the minus minus to decrease something by less than 1, by 1. Okay, to decrease something by 1. So let's go ahead and see how we can use these operators. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to create a third file, and we're going to call it operators. So to do that, I'll just simply come here, new file, and I'm going to put 3_operators .dat. Okay, so once we do that, we are going to go ahead and create our structure of our program, which is going to be void main. So just do that for me, the IDE. Just remove this garbage. Okay, so that's our program. So let us see how we can use operators. So now we talked about different data types, and among the data types that we talked about, they are integers. Okay, so to create an integer, variable, this variable that we created before here, it was just a variable that can store anything. But if you want to be specific and want to perform maybe arithmetic operation, then you will need some integers, some doubles, some float numbers. So to do that, I'm going to create an integer. Okay, so to create an integer, just simply write int and then say, give it a name. So you're creating a space that will store only integers. So give it a name. Let us give it a name, maybe A, and then let us store there something. We're going to store there maybe 22. So when you're storing integers, you don't need to surround it with what? With double quotes like this. Okay, integers, you just leave it plain as it is. Okay, so we have created one variable called A, and it is having 22. It is storing 22. Let us create the second variable, int B is storing maybe 31. I can say 11. Okay, 11. Okay, so we need to perform some addition operation. Okay, so it means that maybe we'll need one more operator. It's going to be int C. Let it store 0. Okay, so after doing that, let us now add A plus B and we store it in C. So to do that, we'll just simply say C equals to A, and then now you remember here the addition is just a plus. Okay, so I'm going to put a plus and then B, and then do like that. So what's going to happen is going to get the value that is stored in B and the value that is stored in A, add them together and store them in what? In C. I repeat, it's going to get the value that is stored in A and the value stored in B, add them together and store those values in what? In C. So let's go ahead and display that. Okay, so to display, we're just simply going to say print, of course, put the double quotes, and then what should we do? I'm going to put here dash 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 plus dash 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 equals dash 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 dash. That's what we're going to do. Let's first run this file. Command prompt. That this another file is called 3_ press the tab key _operators.dat. Press enter. You can see dash 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 plus dash 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 equals dash dash dash. So now we need to substitute in something inside these ones. So we're going to say this dash, we're going to remove them. So how do you substitute a variable inside a string? By putting $sign and the name of the variable. So we're going to put here A. Okay, remove this one, put $sign, the name of the variable B. Remove this, put $sign, the name of the variable C. Okay, so it's going to be A plus B equals C. So this one will be substituted with their values. Okay, so save, clear the console, run. You can see 22 plus 11 equals 33. 22 plus 11 equals 33. So if you come and change something here, maybe store there 1 and store there 2, save, come and run this, and you see 2 plus 1 equals to 3. What's the time remaining? Okay, remaining 10 minutes. Okay, so I hope you've understood how to do that, and that's how we can use operators, and that's how we can use the arithmetic operations. So if you want to learn more, I'll give the what? I'll give that document, and you'll be able to learn more, and also resource files. And also you can watch this video again to understand. So if I want to subtract, I can just simply put a minus, of course. So it's going to be, let me put here minus just to represent it. So what's going to be the answer? The answer is going to be minus 1. This is going, the answer is going to be 1. So here it will have 2 minus 1, and we'll have the answer of 1. Run the program. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Multiplication, just simply put a star, save, run. So let me put here multiplication. Let me put here maybe something that will increase it, 4. So it's going to be run. Can you see? 2 times 4 equals 8. So that's how we do that. That's how we do operators. So you should see things carefully and clearly, because we'll have to give you assignment, some simple assignment that will need you to also do the same thing, that shows that you understood. So if you don't do anything again and again and again and again, we may not give you the certificate, or may let you leave the course. So because we want you to understand things, we are not wasting time. So make sure that you understand, and you can rewatch the video, of course, later. So in the last 5 minutes, I think we'll have the discussion in case there's any question. So after doing that, we proceed. That is operators. You'll come and learn more. We proceed to logical, to relational operators. So these relational operators, we use them to create logical decisions. In case you want to check if something is greater than something or something less than something, we use these logic operators, and here they are. Okay, so we'll learn this more about these logic operators when you come to if conditions. Right now we're going to skip them, but when you come to if conditions, we'll have to come back here, and we'll be able to understand everything that we're learning here. But here, this one will represent greater than sign, this one will represent less than sign, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And this one represent not equal to. So we're going to go to loops. We're going to get introduced to loops. So what is the loop? And that will be the end of our today's discussion or session. So what is a loop? We use loops to perform iterations. Okay, so you can come and read here to understand what's really meant by a loop. So we use loop to perform iterations. For example, you want to display something 20 times. It doesn't mean that you should write it 20 times. For example, if I ask you right now at this point, at this level, if I ask you, hey, can you write for me a program that is going to display the name X 20 times? What does it mean? It means that you would write the word X 20 times. What if I ask you, hey, can you display for me a program that is going to display can you write for me a program that is going to display for me a certain word 60 times or 100 times? What does it mean? You would write that thing 100 times. Hence, you're repeating yourself. But that's not how a computer should work. A computer should be able to perform such things for us to avoid us repeating ourselves. So to solve that problem, we come to what we call loops. Loops will help us to create something, to do something multiple times until a certain condition is reached. I repeat, loop will help us to do a certain thing very many times until a certain condition is reached. So we have different types of loops in that programming language. You have the definite loops, the loops which have end, and one of them is called the for loop. We have the indefinite loop, the loop that has no end, and one of them is called while loop, and another one is called do while loop. So let's go ahead and look at for loop. Okay, so Tomorrow we'll look at while loop and do while loop. Today we're going to just look at the for loop. So let's go ahead and do that. So what will you do? We're going to create another file that we're going to call loops. So what will I do? Just come here, right click, new file, and I'm going to call this one for_loop. Okay, let me call it just for loop. For loop. Dot that. Don't forget the extension. If you don't put the extension, then it will not work. Okay, so write our program main function. They'll suggest for us to do that. Remove this garbage. Okay, so after doing that, let us create our loop. So to create a for loop, this is the syntax that we follow. You write for, and then you open the bracket. Then you initialize a variable here that is going to help you to count. So it's going to be an integer. So it's going to be I. Okay, put a semicolon. Then here you put a condition that this I, then I initialize it. Int I equals to, let me use zoom so I can see clearly. Int I equals to, you can as well collapse these files. You see, you can collapse these things just by tapping there. Let me collapse it so you can see clearly. So I have, let me delete everything so I can see again. So I write for, I open bracket and I close it. I say int I equals to 0. So what has happened there, I've just simply say I'm creating an integer with the name I and should be started with 0. And then I say I is less than 20 or is less than 10. So I say this I should not go more than 10. Once it reaches 10, it should stop. And then at the end I say I plus plus. So I plus plus means that this I should be increasing by 1 every time it loops. So after this, I put a curly bracket. So here, curly bracket, it will help us to write the code between here that will help us to define the logic. Okay, so I'm going to print something. So anything that I write between these curly brackets, anything that we write between this curly bracket, it's going to be repeated this number of times. I repeat, everything that we're going to write between these curly brackets, they are going to be repeated. Every piece of code that we're going to repeat, that we're going to write in between this curly bracket, it's going to be repeated this number of times. So what we're going to do, we're going to write here a print function that is going to print this number. So write print and then put this is I time. Okay, so it means that it's going to increase this I by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, and it's going to display this one 10 times. So I save, open the command prompt, the command line, and then write dat and then name of file, which is 3 dat operators. Press enter. Can you see? Sorry, for loop dat, and then say it is 5, right? 4, and then for loop, like that. Press enter. Can you see? Let me repeat that. Can you see? This is 0 time, this is 1 time, this is 2 times, this is 3 times. Can you see? We wrote just only a piece of line, but it has managed to write for us multiple operations. So we'll need this when you're writing programs. For example, you want to check something if it's existing in a certain list, so you'll need to loop, and that's what you mean by loop. Those who already know programming, like C programming, of course you already know these things. And if you're new to programming, then you may need to read more deeper. Okay, if you're really new, you will need to read this document and understand properly what is meant by loop and when you need it. But right now, I hope you've got the concept of why we need loops. So let me delete it. Let me write here, maybe I want to display this line 1,000 times. So if I ask you to do this without a loop, what would you do? You will just write this again and again and again and again. You will just write it 1,000 times. But is that the point? No. Let us be able to do this logic, this operation with the use of a logic. So I save, come here and run the file again. So it's going to display those things 1,000 times. Press enter. Can you see? It is able to display this line 1,000 times. Can you see? There are so many, and it does it in just in a second. Can you see? Hope you can see that. So it was able to display it 999 times. When it reaches 1,000 part, it stops. So if I say if I want 1,000 to be reached, I just simply add less than 1,001 and then save. clear, enter. See, 1000 it was reached. If I want it to reach 1000 without writing 1001, I can put here less than or equal to, less than or equal to. Can you see? 1000. I can as well loop backwards. I can start from 1000. Let me copy this and comment this one, because I'll share these files with you for later use. So I comment it. This I'll comment. We'll explain what I mean by comment later. So I can as well start from top. So if I want to start from top, I just simply say 1000. So it is beginning by 1000. So it means that here it should be greater than 0, because it's going to come backwards. Okay, it should be greater than 0. Otherwise, if you put here a wrong condition, then your program is going to loop forever and your computer will freeze. And then I put here minus, because it should reduce by 1. So if I put plus, it will go in the opposite direction. It will keep on increasing and will never reach this condition. So what do? We put a condition here to say that it should be greater than 0 or should not be less than 0. So that it should reach here. So let's go ahead and run. Clear that. Can you see? It started from top and went on decreasing until it reaches 1 and then stopped. Okay, so that's enough for today. We can begin from there tomorrow, and in the next class. And in the next class, we can finish this introduction. And then after introduction, we'll go to object-oriented programming. And then after object-oriented programming, we'll go to now real Flutter mobile application. So we are remaining with 2 more classes of mobile application. And then after those 2 more classes, we'll go ahead and do the real Flutter mobile application. So we will share the assignment, we will share the resources, and let us meet in the next class. Our time is over. And thank you so much for attending. In case, just let us have only 5 minutes in case there's a question. And in case there's no question, we can proceed to our other programs. Just only, 2 minutes to